Hey, welcome back everyone. It is time for another red hot covered call video. Well, hey, look, today we're going to talk about the poor man's covered call, but I'm not going to get into the mechanics of it. We're just going to talk about the covered call side of it because this is something you can do, and this is something I'm doing, and I do it frequently. In fact, I've done so many poor man's covered call trades over the years. I mean, just this year, I've made $96,000 using the poor man's covered call. I'm going to show you my $30,000 DPST trade. But we're not going to go into that so much. I'm going to show you a recent NVDX trade. NVDX is the 2X leveraged ETF to NVIDIA, and NVIDIA has sold off. So I took that opportunity to buy a LEAPS call option, and we went ahead and did a 2-week covered call. That's what I'm going to show you today. I use less capital buying a LEAPS call option that simulates stock ownership. Then what I did is I immediately wrote a 2-week covered call. Now I do this all the time at the membership. So if you are interested in the poor man's covered call, I need you to click in the description below, get your 1 free month offer. Here's the deal. You can generate incredible amounts of money using the poor man's covered call. I'm going to show you my DPST trade. And what I want you to understand is that I did all of these trades using half the capital needed. This is not hocus pocus. We buy 20 LEAPS call options, essentially dollar cost averaging as the stock would fall. DPST, when I got involved, was trading for 99, and I thought that was good support. It fell all the way down to 72, and I tried to grab some LEAPS call options along the way to reduce my cost basis. Essentially reduce my exit. Now, we were writing covered calls the whole way down. And you could see right here, this is what we've done. And this, including the current covered call I have, that would be $22,000 in covered call premiums alone. When did I start this trade? I literally started it in September. Do you see that? I literally bought my first LEAPS call option in September. It's now December 1st. And chances are I'm going to have my shares taken away. Now, I don't own shares, so I'm going to have to buy back my near-term covered call, and then I'm going to sell my LEAPS call option to close the trade. Take a look at this. This is incredible, and this is all real. If my current covered call were to close on the dot, 105 strike, I'd be able to get out with a 27% gain. Look at that, 27% cash on cash or $30,000. You say to yourself, how much did you use to make that money? That's going to be effectively $112,000 to generate all of this. Now, the poor man's covered call is a long-dated trade. You get involved with the trade, you're going to write covered calls every 30 days. You're going to write out of the money covered calls, and you're going to let that trade percolate a little bit. So the poor man's covered call is a great opportunity to get both stock appreciation and some decent covered call premiums. All of these trades are incredible. We had a couple where we had to buy back and we lost some money, but then we made some money along the way. So this is going to be a great trade. Now, this is a big trade. $112,000 put into this trade. I have all the confidence in the world with DPST. It's the 3X leverage ETF to the regional banks. I have no fear. DPST fell from 99 to 72. I didn't lose a wink of sleep. It is the regional banks. So I love this trade, and it's going to end. Look where DPST is right now. We have gone from 95 to 72 back to 95. And I'll tell you what, all along the way, we're making incredible premiums. Look at that. Look at all those premiums we're making. Do the math. 26% cash on cash, $30,000. By the way, that's since September. Look, if you want to learn the poor man's covered call, I'm going to tell you right now, the members have an entire video library. This is what I update all the time because the poor man's covered call is a great way to generate cash flow using less capital. You see it on YouTube all the time. These guys talking about the poor man's covered call. But what I'm going to tell you is this. They don't really know how to use the poor man's covered call like I do. I have made incredibly $96,000 this year, and last year I made more because I know the ins and outs. See, they'll tell you to just buy a LEAPS call option. Well, that's totally wrong. The poor man's covered call needs to have the initial trade set up, and you get that as a member. You get the poor man's covered call tracker, which has the poor man's covered call initial trade set up inside of it. Then you get all of these real-time trade videos. These are all videos. I talk about them. And, of course, the masterclass right here. Number one, watch that video, and you are well on your way. Now let's go ahead and talk about that NVIDIA trade, because you can do this trade and make like $1,000 and get out of it. And this is what I've done for my son. So with about $17,000, you can see it right there, $17,000, we went ahead and bought the 8 strike. That's deep in the money LEAPS call option. This is a March 2026. It says 2025, but it's a 2026. We're going to go ahead and buy 20 LEAPS call options. By the way, with confidence. Right? Because I know that at the end of the day, as long as I can get out of this trade, when NVDX is trading in and around 1643, my LEAPS call option is going to be valued in and around $8.70 where I bought this. Now, I'm telling you, you have to do the initial trade setup. If you don't do that, you will fail. Why? Because you'll pay too much in time value premium. I do this for my kids, I do this for my own account, and I do this for the members. If you have never heard about time value premium in your LEAPS call options when you start a poor man's covered call, you're listening to the wrong people. You absolutely need to stop listening to them and listen to me. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I have been through every scenario. You know, there's a guy on YouTube right now. He's talking about how he bought a SPY LEAPS call option. And he sold like the January 2027. And the stock has rocketed higher. And he's not going to buy it back. And he don't care, this, that, and the other. But what he doesn't understand is, because apparently he's teaching you a masterclass on the poor man's covered call, he doesn't talk about all the things that could happen. Such as, if you get stuck paying the dividend, if you get stuck paying the dividend, guess what? That is a brutal feeling when your brokerage slaps you with that bill. Did you know that you pay for the dividend to the new call buyer that took your shares? You probably didn't. And oh, by the way, the guy who owns the shares for which you bought the LEAPS call option off of, he collects a dividend too. And how about how to negotiate your bid, mid, and ask? Yeah, they don't talk about that because these LEAPS call options, they don't have much liquidity because there's not much action, not much open interest. I teach you in that video how to do it. In fact, I've got 2 of them out there. And oh, by the way, how about losing money, which I show the members right here. I lost money, and then we rolled it and made even more money. See, you can do that with the poor man's covered call largely because there's 30-day trades, and we're going to pick out of the money strikes. Now you say to yourself, well, how do you know what strike prices to pick? Well, of course, being a member, you get the poor man's covered call tracker, which has the expected stock move calculator for which you plug in that data and you get that price of the expected move. Then you plug that bad boy into where my LEAPS call option should be priced with that strike price. And there you go. We then write the covered call, just sit back, and then we manage the trade. I do this all the time. I do this so much, 96,000 this year on the poor man's covered call alone. Now, let's talk about NVDX so we can get out of here. I really do want you to think about the poor man's covered call. It's a covered call, but instead of buying the shares, we're buying a LEAPS call option in lieu of that, so we spend less money. In this case, had I bought 2,000 shares of NVDX at 1646, well, I'd pay much more than the 17,000 that I did. Okay? I'd pay double that. Right? I'd pay closer to 32,000. So I'm leveraging 17,000 and we go ahead and get off that cover call. I want you to take a look at this trade, which I just did, were to end. Look at that cash on cash percentage gain. This is what I did today. This covered call is going to pay me $1,200 up front, 6.9%. Now, this is 2 weeks. Well, if the stock were to move, remember, I bought the LEAPS call option at $8.70. If the stock were to move to my strike price of $17.50, I'm going to have a LEAPS call option that's valued at $9.38. Well, that means I'm going to make $1,300 on that. And when you add those two together, we're out of the trade, 14.7% in 2 weeks, knocking down 2,500. Now, you're only doing this if you use the poor man's covered call investment strategy. Again, less capital and not any more risk. None at all. I'm using NVIDIA. Some will tell you, well, it's more risky when you use options. Well, no, it's not. I'm buying this deep in the money LEAPS call option. Mind you, it is a 95 delta leap, which means when a stock moves $1, my LEAPS call option that supports this trade moves 95 cents of that. Hey, look, if any of this is interesting you, and you want to use less capital but make hella jack, just like I told you that I'm going to make on that trade, you need to become a member in the description below. Get your 1 free month offer. Right now, I'll tell you what, I have some poor man covered call trades. Anything on my total income tracker, which is purple, that's the poor man's covered call. So right now I'm doing it on NVDX. I'm doing it on DPST, and we're going to use Meta, but we're going to use Meta's 2x leverage ETF. We're going to go ahead and do that and make incredible premiums while we're doing it, using less capital. Now, let's go ahead and talk about that trade with NVDX. Now, I'm doing this trade, making $1,200 for this month. Now, when this trade ends, I make $1,200 in premium alone. I sell the LEAPS call option. If it gets to $1,750, I make $2,500. Wouldn't you like to learn this strategy and maybe put on a small trade like this, a $17,000 trade, pocket about $1,000 in premium, maybe pay some of your kids' college, maybe kick down to some of your grandkids' college? How about helping your kids pay for their rent? How about you paying for your rent? The reason I bring that up is because part of this is, in fact, going to pay for my son's rent. That's what I'm talking about right there. We need to make about $1,000 a month so we can pay for his rent. And that's what we do. We have covered call writing, cash secure put selling, and dividend investing. I'll tell you what, that's the only way you're truly going to be able to have financial freedom. Because at the end of the day, you need to have passive income investments paying your way. And that's what I teach you here at the membership. In the description below, get your 1 free month offer. I teach people how to write covered calls, sell cash secure puts, use the poor man's covered call, and I do it a lot. 43 trades in the month of November. Take a look at this. I'm going to dial in here. This is what I did with my account. This is what I teach my members. And oh, by the way, you see all my trades. I think that's really why a lot of people sign up for my membership. They get to see all my trades. They put them on if they want. Look at this, 57,000 in the month of November. Remember when we kicked down 96K last month? Well, we follow that up with a nice 57,000. I'll tell you what, being a member, you see all these trades. Take a look at this. That's your first week. That's your first week of November. Take a look at this. All these trades you would have had in the description below. Get your 1 free month offer. Take a look at this. This is something I absolutely love doing. This is a comparison. This is over the past 5 years. November has not been good for me. And trust me, I've been trading this for over 10 years. Look at this. 2021, 1,600. 2022, I lost $2,000 in the month of November. 23, we made about 1,000. But look at last year. I retired from the 9 to 5. I'm busting my butt. And look at that, 15,000. This is in November only. And then, of course, this year we are rocking. Now we're making $57,000 this month. This is actually pretty darn incredible. So with that said, this is what we do at the membership. We write covered calls, we sell puts, we use the poor man's covered call, and we dividend invest. Learn how to write covered calls, sell puts, use the poor man's covered call, generate all that covered call premium, and then buy all those dividend paying funds. That's how we do it. That's how you live financially free, if you ask me. So here we are. We're using NVDX. We're going to talk about this real quick and we'll get out of here. NVDX is trading low in the range. NVIDIA had great earnings and of course they sell the market off. The market itself sells off. So does NVIDIA. Well, we're getting involved down at the bottom of the range. This is what we want. We don't want to be up here. If you're following people that tell you to buy up here, then you're listening to the wrong people. at the membership, I have all kinds of videos talking about chart reading classroom, where we get involved. I would have never told you to get involved here or here. We always get involved down here, and look at that. I mean, this is actually simple. We use the Keltner channel because it is a stocks trading range. We get involved at the bottom of the range, and look what we're doing now. Okay, this is what we're doing now. So here is the trade that I just put on for my son. So what we're going to do is this. When the stock's trading for $16.58, we're going to go ahead and do the December 12th. That's 2 weeks from now. We're going to do the $17.50. Now, I bought them at $16.58, hypothetically, right? I mean, this is a poor man's covered call, so I already own the LEAPS call options. But you would have bought the shares at $16.58. You'd have then immediately sold a covered call, giving somebody the right but not the obligation to take your shares at $17.50. They paid me 60 cents a share. I got 20 contracts or 2,000 shares. That's going to be $1,200 for the time frame. Hey, look, I am going to leave it right there. If you're excited, you want to learn covered calls, cash secured puts to generate that premium profit. Right now, this trade, my son's going to make $1,200 in 2 weeks. $1,200 in 2 weeks. If the stock goes a little bit lower, I end up buying this option back. He might make a little less. We put on another covered call. We keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Then we have our shares ultimately taken away at our cost basis. Our cost basis is in and around $16.43. We're out of the trade, and we are literally stacking all of these incredible chips. Look at this. When I started this trade, DPST was trading for literally $101. Let's bring up good old DPST and show you where it has been. This thing has literally done a round robin up here. And we got involved right here. It was right around 101 right here, thinking this is where support was going to be. And then the bad news. Some bad news came out about regional banks, and it collapses. But do we worry? Of course not. It falls to 72. What are we doing when it falls to 72? We're doubling down. Look at that. DPST. And I've sent email after email to the members saying, look, this is your trading range right here. If you're going to get involved with DPST, right here. Sure enough, look at this. Look at that incredible rally now to 95. Hey, look, you could say we caught a little bit of luck there with the Fed going to lower interest rates. But what I'm going to tell you is this thing would have traded in this range all day long, and it's going to pop its head out. This is the 50 regional banks. We don't worry. We don't sweat it. Because that is a diversified ETF. We use 3x leverage because we get the juice so we can make all of that money. Hey, look, if you're interested in the poor man's covered call or learning about the covered call, hey, look, watch my trades. This is incredible. You saw how much I made in November alone. This is my current year. This is covered call writing, cash secure put selling, and dividend investing. Passive investing that I teach the members, show the members every single passive investment I buy with all my covered call profits. And one last thing before we get out of here, see this number right here? This is the most incredible number. If this video alone does not get you excited, this is how much I make per day trading the stock market like I just explained. $2,171 per day. Let that sink in. Hey, look, I'm going to leave it right there in the description below. Get your 1 free month offer. Join me. Tell you what, join now so you are ready to rock when 2026 comes. Make 2026 your year. Hang with me, knocking it down. Hey, look, be safe, be healthy, most important, be lucky. Until next time, may all your covered calls be profitable. You know, I'm not sure if you've ever thought about using the poor man's covered call as an investment strategy. But I'll tell you this, you can actually use less capital. You can take control of more shares, which means you can write near-term covered calls where you're controlling more shares, so you're making more premium profit. If you wanted to become a member, in the description below, I have a 1 free month offer. I do many poor man cover calls. In fact, I always have a poor man's cover call trade on so members can always ask me questions if they're interested in using this investment strategy. There's more spinning plates with this strategy, but I'll tell you, if you master it, you will absolutely benefit from it. I have an entire video library. In fact, it consists of over 13 how-to videos using the poor man's covered call. We talk about how we use the poor man's cover call tracker, which has the initial trade setup in it, which is golden rule number 1. If you're going to do a poor man's covered call, you need to understand how the initial trade setup is the most important part of the trade. I have done so many of these trades over the years that I've pretty much experienced everything, like having my shares called away, shares that I don't own, being put in a short position in the stock. Also, I've had to pay the dividend to a call buyer. This is 2025, what you're seeing. Those are all the trades, and there is the result. If you want to learn from somebody that has mastered the poor man's cover call strategy, I want you to join the membership. In the description below is your chance to join the membership, get a copy of the poor man's cover call tracker, access to the entire video library, and see all of my active trades. In the description below, get your 1 free month offer.